Namo Buddhaya. I'm in the Hindu temple where I come for meditation. The priest has just performed puja and made this offering to me of some bananas, gratefully received with some herbal arrangement. I think I'm to do a little puja myself, so I'll do that now. So I have some flowers, some fruit, and green. I'm going to keep one banana for myself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namaste, Namo Buddhaya. So anicca, uncertainty, impermanence. I had kind of an idea to come here this morning for meditation and to offer a short Dharma talk, or talk on my experience of practicing as a Buddhist monk living in India. And so far so good. I had some interesting interactions with local cows and bulls. I think it's their, how would you say, mating season or something. They're a little more frisky than normal, not just usual friendly. The bulls especially are finding this colour robes quite enticing, and I'm having to move quickly away on occasions. But this is uncertainty. Things change. And I appreciate this. It is part of my practice of living outside rather than inside the monastery. So I've been asked how I came to be a monk and why I became a monk, and I've kind of answered those questions. Maybe one day I'll make a more comprehensive video biography. But I'm more interested in talking to you about what you can do, and generally to people about monastic life in generally, rather than this monk specifically. But I appreciate you may have queries about this monk specifically, and I'm very happy to answer those questions as and when they come up, and I will endeavour to do so. But the procedure for becoming a monk, I haven't really gone into. And maybe it's been asked, and I've missed the question a little bit. But yeah, it does take a bit of time. This is the thing. Once you have embraced Buddhism, and you are a lay Buddhist practicing sila, keeping the 5 precepts, meditation, meditating regularly and practicing mindfulness throughout your day, and developing your mind, developing the wholesome aspects of your mind whilst trying to reduce the unwholesome aspects of your mind. This is Panya, or wisdom. Sila, Samadhi, Panya. This is the practice for both lay Buddhists and monastics. Once you have been practicing like this for some time, it may be you decide to take things further for whatever your own personal reasons may be. If you choose to go in the direction of monasticism or renunciation, because that's what it is, it's giving up. It's giving up the worldly life. Not only the material things, but even the decision-making process you have to give up. This you hand over to other people who will look after you. That's quite hard. But once you arrive at this decision, or are more directed towards that inclination, you can try staying in Buddhist monasteries and taking the 8 precepts. Now, this is a regular practice in Thailand. They go on the full moon and the new moon. The new moon day is coming up on Wednesday here, in 2 days' time, the Uposita, when monastics like myself have to get together with at least 3 other bhikkhus, to recite the Patimokkha, the 227 rules of a bhikkhu. So I will be going back on my bus again to Bangalore overnight on Tuesday, tomorrow night, to arrive early in the morning for puja at Mahabodhi Society, Bangalore. I'll have my meal there. In the afternoon we'll perform the Patimokkha, the recitation of the 227 bhikkhu rules, and then that night I will return here to my dwelling place in the forest. This is how I am practicing as a monk now. But to get there, this is the procedure. As I said, you go first for staying short periods of time, maybe just 1 day. The Upositas, the full moon and the new moon. In Thailand, this is a common practice where lay Buddhists will go. They have accommodation for men, they have accommodation for ladies. They're separate, of course. You stay for the weekend or just that day, and you take the 8 precepts. So rather than 5 precepts of no killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, or intoxicants, you increase those to 8, which are actually really 9 because 2 go together. But what happens is it's no killing, no stealing, no sexual activity whatsoever, no lying, of course, and no intoxicants. And then number 6, we'll call this number 6, you refrain from eating, no eating after noon. So that is midday, usually, around that time, when the sun is at its meridian. No food in the afternoon. So you, in Thailand, would just have 1 meal a day. But you can have food all morning, but the point of it is to restrict eating to a specific time and not too much, because this is what brings on tiredness and lethargy in meditation. So this is the 6th precept. The 7th is you refrain from beautification, wearing jewelry, makeup, and this kind of activity to make yourself look good. You'd wear very simple clothes. They give you a kind of a pajama outfit of simple white or very light lilac colour in Thailand. So as you're all looking pretty much bland and the same. So it's, again, taking away some of that identity and choice. And number 6, that's 7. Number 8, you sleep on a mat on the floor or on the floor rather than a luxurious, high, comfortable bed. The reason I say it's 9 is because in number 7, beautification and perfumes and this, you're also refraining from any form of entertainment. So you're not going to be on your mobile phone or your tablet watching Netflix for the whole day that you're there. You don't listen to music. You don't have any form of entertainment, reading novels, books. Maybe some Dharma books, this is acceptable, or listening to Dharma talks, this is acceptable. But in the monastery, you should just be really practicing, listening to live monks, practicing meditation, doing what you've learned through those Dharma talks and read about outside. When it comes to the 10 precepts, which is next when you go and join a monastery as an anagarika or a trainee, then number 7 becomes 2. They separate entertainment and beautification. So that was what makes 9. And then number 10, I haven't got the whole 10 fingers. Number 10 is you refrain from using money. Specifically handling gold and silver, but that was the money in the time of the Buddha, so using money. Us monks, we don't accept money, we don't use money. There are occasions, of course, if you're outside of the monastery, whereby it is necessary to purchase, I don't know, a ticket, a bus ticket, something like this. And where possible, this is done for you by a lay person, or we can, of course, these days use some form of online method of payment. To me, I consider that really much the same as using money, so I try to refrain from that. But certain activities that are funded for me from outside of India are transacted online. So actually, in a way, it's for my benefit, but I'm not handling money. Specifically in terms of cash, I do usually carry a very small amount of rupees, which are equivalent of pennies here, to UK currency, in my bowl or little yam bag thing, just in case some emergency was to arise and I have to hop on a bus or something like this. But it's very rare that I would have to use it and handle that myself. In fact, I don't think it's happened. So these are the 10 precepts. Once you've spent some time staying in a monastery on 8 precepts and you decide to go and live there full time. And then you become an anagarika. Now it's slightly different in India, so if you're in India, refer to your local monastery. But generally speaking, in the Theravada tradition worldwide, I have to say actually not worldwide, in Thailand and in the UK and in America and in Canada and in Europe, in those Theravada branch monasteries it's the same. They follow the sort of the Western rules and book that have been running for very many years and work very well. So the process would be that you become an anagarika, which means you become homeless. It literally means homeless one. So you've given up your home to go and live in the monastery, and you wear white clothing or robes. There is a short ordination process, and you perhaps would change your name. Some would change your name, some not. But you'd become Anagarika John or Anagarika Peter, something like that. And you would probably spend a minimum of a year like this, working in the monastery, quite hard. You'd be helping the monks, this is service, dana, by doing a lot of the things that they cannot do. So we can't dig, we can't cut plants, dark gardening, we can't cook. Lots of things that we are prohibited from doing through our 227 Bhikkhu rules, you as an anagarika would be doing. So it's hard work. If you go to a foreign country like Thailand, where I went, it's hot too and uncomfortable. This is part of the training. This is practicing patient endurance. And if you're of mature years, like myself when I started, then you need a little bit more harsh treatment to, let's say, bring yourself back down to earth and humble yourself, put it that way, in order to be able to really appreciate and understand the practice. And this would be for about a year. Then you would take Samanera ordination, which is novice monk, which is when you first wear the coloured robes, the colour of the country where you may be. They vary a little bit from bright yellow to dark brown. Usually natural dyes of the region you're in. This is why they're all different colours. In Thailand, it's the jackfruit tree, anything from the bark to the heartwood, which is again a whole rainbow range of different colours. But the Buddha's description of the colour was dung water. So if you imagine some cow dung in a puddle, the water surrounding it would be an orangey ochre brown. And this is the traditional Buddhist colour. Well, the words of the Buddha, dung water. I like that colour. This isn't that colour, and this is particularly enticing to angry bulls. I thought this was a myth put about in the UK by farmers to keep people out of their fields, but I've subsequently learned it's actually quite true, as you may see from some of my cow and bull videos. They're not liking these red robes. I'm also told they're not red, but to me they look red. So this colour could be changing soon for practical reasons. So you become a novice monk, still on 10 precepts, but you take on 75 Sakya rules, the training rules. 75 training rules. Now these are largely rules of etiquette, rules about how you walk, talk, how you eat, even how you sleep, how you go to the toilet. Everything to do with good manners and etiquette. And they're very beautiful rules, 75 rules. If you stick to those, you will not offend anybody, anywhere, ever. And I only wish that everybody stuck to these 75 rules. It makes for a very peaceful, harmonious environment. So once you become a novice monk and you're living amongst other novice monks, you're all practicing these 75 rules. And you are living harmoniously with each other. And I can speak from experience that that is the case. It has to be experienced to be understood. This process, this is called a samanera. You're a samanera, a novice monk. And this will be for about a year, 2 years, or maybe longer. During your anagarika time of a year, during your samanera time of 2 years, bhikkhus of the Sangha, the fully ordained monks, both junior through to monks, ajahns, teachers of more than 10 years, or mahateras, more than 10 years, and so you've got navaka monks of less than 5 years, then I've forgotten the Pali words. The next stage is after 5 years to 10 years, then 10 years to 20 years. So you've got this whole range of monks, bhikkhus, in seniority. It's not a hierarchy of promotion through any kind of merit or success. It's purely the number of years you have spent since ordaining in the robes as a bhikkhu. So as a samanera, you're not at this stage yet. Once these senior bhikkhus, these bhikkhus, have observed you, watched you, lived with you, been with you, come to know you, over this period of, let's say it's a minimum of 3 years now, 1 year as an anagarika, 2 as a samanera, they will decide that it's time for you to take ordination, upasampada, which is higher ordination, and pabaja was the name for the ordination for a samanera. You take pabaja, and that is the kind of temporary ordination anybody can take if they go for a short period to live as a monk for, say, a 10-day, 14-day, or even 1 month or 3 month, or in Thailand sometimes 6 months or a year temporary ordination. I think there in Thailand sometimes they give them full ordination if it's a long-term thing, but usually pabaja would be to samanera status, samanera level of ordination. But once you've had this for that period of time, and these bhikkhus have observed you, they may decide you can take further ordination, which is higher ordination, when you take upasampada and you become a bhikkhu. And you get an extra robe rather than just this upper robe and your lower robe. You get another robe called a sangati, which is a double thickness robe, and it is actually for practical use when you're out of the monastery more than anything else. And it is useful. Me, being out of the monastery, appreciate it very much, but sometimes when I'm travelling, I don't appreciate it so much because you have to keep it with you at all times. Never be without it overnight. That's the bare minimum. And that means I carry it wherever I go, if I'm not sure that I'm going to be back that night with my bowl. These are my requisites. This is then, you're a bhikkhu, but it doesn't stop there. You then remain a dependent. So you take dependency with an upacharya, so a senior bhikkhu, who was usually the one who ordained you, or an appointed teacher, whom you are dependent on this monk to teach you the Dharma, and he is dependent on you to help him with his daily activities. Not necessarily is this the case in 100% practical sense, but this is the idea. And this then, you would generally be living in or near to the monastery where you ordained. And this is for a further 5 years. So you've had probably either 2 to 3 years, and then you have 5 years under dependency with your teacher of that monastery, where you stay close by or within the monastery. And only after that time, so a minimum of 7 years, probably more like 8 years, are you free to say, let's go from that monastery and wander alone as a bhikkhu forevermore. But you're already free from the day you've given up the worldly life. And thereafter, freedom comes from more within, in your mind, in your heart, and location becomes less and less important as time goes by. This is why it's a gradual and slow process towards ordination. But saying that, after 5 years, you are able to go and live on your own. You would return every 15 days, full moon or new moon, to your monastery if you're unable to get together with 3 other monks for the recitation of the Patimokkha. So then we have different kinds of monks, different kinds of practices. Now, I'm not going into all the different traditions, but to keep it simple, you have monks that, well, this is what the Buddha said. A suitable dwelling place for a monk is in a monastery. There are 4. In a monastery, under a tree, in a cave, or just outside under the stars. Okay. I'm living kind of, 4, I said, 5. Or in a hut, a suitable hut, which comes under cave and under a tree, I think, in a forest. These are the 5 places, let's say, that a monk can live. If you're community-minded, you like the support of a community, you like to be part of a community, and you like to work towards community goals, aims, and social work kind of aspects of monastic life, then to be in a city monastery or village monastery even is suitable for you. If you are more a meditative, contemplative monk who wishes to be alone and practice their meditation only, then you probably would want to be outside of the monastery and not in a community and living in the forest like I do. This is the choice you have. And there are also then jobs and roles within the monastery, teaching or actual aspects of work that need to be done, anything from these days IT monks to building monks, plumbing monks, electrician monks. No cooking monks though, because we're not allowed to cook. No real gardening monks, only on a supervisory level. But these are the ideas and very many directions that people can choose to go in once they become, samaneras really, and thereafter novice monks. Thereafter, when they become bhikkhus, they can still very often stay in their monastery rather than travel. So that's a kind of a summary of the process. It takes really a minimum of 7 years to become a bhikkhu. And then it takes another 5 years of dependency under your monastery before you are going anywhere. That, if you think about it, or if you add it up, you don't have to think about it, is 12 years. It's actually very similar in the Hindu religion. If you see the Hindu orange-coloured, what do they call them? A sannyas, original samana, wandering monk, he's under his teacher for 12 years. 12 seems to be a very auspicious number. So really the minimum is 12 years before you're out alone in the world as a bhikkhu. But you don't have to be. You can stay with your monastery. I intend to stay. I'm a Mahabodhi monk and will be a Mahabodhi monk for as long as they allow me to be a Mahabodhi monk. It's a relationship that works very well. And I stay relatively close by to visit frequently for the Patimokkha twice a month, every 15 days, the rules recitation, and any of the auspicious days. The full moon of March, the full moon of May, the full moon of July, the full moon of October, the holy days, the official ones. So that's it. That's how the process runs after you decide to give up the world and just take the robes. And this is all you have. You don't own anything thereafter once you decide to renounce and become a monk. And the point of this is to make the goal, which is to become free from suffering in this lifetime, more easily achievable. Because this is going to be your focus. Just that. Meditation, as well as keeping sila, keeping the moral precepts, and from the point of view for a monastic, that's a lot of rules. But they're not so much rules as guidelines and ways of supporting us. They're a support structure to support us in keeping those 5 main precepts that you as a lay Buddhist or of any religion would keep. I'm looking at the time. Because of whatever religion you are, generally speaking, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying are out of order, and to some degree taking of intoxicants also. If you look at the 10 commandments, with the exception of taking intoxicants, all those 4 are there. In fact, some of them are repeated to make the whole 10. So the practice as a monastic is to become free from suffering in this lifetime through the practice of sila, samadhi, meditation, and the development of wisdom. That is what I'm trying to do in this form. You can do that also in whatever form you choose. It's up to you. I've taken to some extent the hardest route because I've had to give up worldly life, but the easiest route because I have support from my monastery and senior monastics and lay people who put food on the table, clothe us, give us shelter and medicine. Our 4 main requisites. So I will give you a short blessing. I will say thank you and my gratitude to this temple, a Hindu temple. I am ecumenical in my views. That means I appreciate all religions, from Christianity to Hinduism, with Judaism, the Islamic faiths, and everything in between. I respect them all because where there is religion, there are people with faith, there are people with determination to do good. And if we all live ecumenically together, like this, these people accepting me into their temple as a Buddhist monk, giving me bananas, giving me food down at their other temple. What a harmonious and beautiful existence we can all have together. Give you a short blessing. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sabitiho vivajantu sabaroko vinyasatu. Mate bhavata vantarayo sukhiti kayuko bhavam. Bhavatu sabha mangalam ragantu sabha devata. Sabha buddha nubhavena sada dhamma bhavantu te. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.